Greetings there Spartans, this is FiOth, and in this video I'm gonna be talking about the inspiration behind some of God of War's mechanics, some ideas that I think have been copied and improved upon, which games it was inspired by, and how said inspiration made this title the masterpiece that it is. First and foremost, people tend to say that God of War's the 2018 edition was heavily inspired by the Soul series, a series that requires precision in combat, the ability to predict enemies' movements, countering, placing yourself in advantageous positions, and generally uses very specific, a very standard mapping of the controller for combat. That mapping of the controller and the qualities that I mentioned before surely have been placed pretty deep in the core of the mechanics of God of War. And since the game is very combat focused, that's what stands out at the beginning. However, those are not the only ideas the game actually draws from. You see, there is another aspect of the game that people sometimes overlook, and that is exploration, and exploration not only by foot but by boat as well. For someone who knows gaming history, it's easy to see the similarities with Sega's masterpiece from the early 2000s, Skies of Arcadia. In Skies of Arcadia you would be driving a flying boat or ship amongst the clouds above and below their surface, quote unquote, and you would be able to find islands that you could explore, new settlements, and so on and so forth. It spawned a cult fanbase and also some amazing art as well. Another game from which God of War heavily draws upon is Destiny. I know it might seem like a long shot to be talking about a shooter that inspired a hack and slash game with some light RPG mechanics, but really if you think about it, there is a ton of similarities, especially when it comes to how the character actually develops. Just like in God of War, the character's overall end game and high level content effectiveness depends on a power level, as you can see on the top right. Every piece of equipment has a set level on it, and the additive effectiveness of all of them affects your actual power. So if you equip something that is of lower power, it will lower your overall ability to tackle tougher enemies. It's pretty much the same thing. A minor but important for your quality of life aspect that's been copied from the JRPGs of old is the lost item section in the shop. I frankly haven't seen this being used since the days of Lost Odyssey back in 2008 on the Xbox 360, but what it means for the player is that if you miss an item and then leave an area causing it to despawn, the game will actually collect those items for you and put them in the shop where you can just come and retrieve them. It doesn't seem very logical, and maybe it seems kinda trivial, but you would never want a rare piece of upgrade materials to just fall through the floor because of a graphics or physics glitch and then get lost forever while you're trying to grind for it. So God of War brings back this pretty much ancient mechanic used in the RPGs of yore and makes use of it to improve your accessibility and ease your upgrading processes and efforts. Something not to be overlooked, since these guys seem to really want you to enjoy the game. It's by no chance that there is zero content that can be missed throughout a playthrough of God of War. You can't miss any trophies or achievements, you're not locked out of any areas, you can just come back whenever you want to wherever you want and explore to the fullest. A quality rarely seen these days. I could probably also overstretch this a bit by saying that it drew inspiration from The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker when it comes to exploration, different parts of the world becoming available as you develop the story as the water's lower in God of War and as you get new melodies in the Wind Waker, but I really wouldn't want to put any Nintendo footage in here because they would take away all my sound and then I have to make it again from scratch. Or I could say that it has arenas similar to some of the dungeons of games like Vagrant Story, etc., but that would be pushing it a little. Also, your ability to stun enemies and then take them out of the fight altogether is pretty reminiscent of the last Doom release, when you can just stun the enemies with fire by hitting specific weak points in order to stagger them and then move in, take them out and spawn some health drops in the process. But what I wanted to do here is include stuff that without any doubt could be cross-referenced with the titles I mentioned before. As a closing remark, I'd like to say something that comes to mind every time I see something amazing happening, some amazing majestic creation or some very neat idea being implemented into something and making it special. There is no parthenogenesis in the world. Parthenogenesis meaning that nothing spawns out of thin air. Someone was there before, creating something amazing, inspired someone else, and then the last individual gathered his thoughts, gathered those ideas, added them up, and created something larger, more important, more interesting, and more glorious than the sum of its parts. So, by talking about these inspirations in this amazing game that probably will end up being my game of the year of 2018, I am not saying that anyone stole anyone's ideas. Inspiration has been there since the dawn of humanity. I give huge credit to Santa Monica Studios for just taking what they needed from other creators in the industry, from other gaming eras, and implementing those aspects into their game to give us the masterpiece that they did. 5 years of their lives went into making God of War, and the result was 100% worth it, no matter where it draws inspiration from. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I really wanted to put my thoughts in order before releasing this. Hope you found it educative. You can always give me more references to work on if you wanna check something else. And if you found this useful and enjoyable, please sub, like and share. It helps the channel grow immensely. I'm making more God of War stuff for you almost every day. So until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection. Cheers.